guys, thanks for tuning in. So we're here at the park with the FreeX. Going to do a little flight test with this guy and see how it does. I have the stock camera gimbal mounted up, and I'm using the Get Up Get To camera mounted in the gimbal. See how this thing does. And basically just put some of these little stickers on. These stickers aren't very good, but just for some line of sight orientation. Green in the front and red in the back there. So let's go ahead and boot this thing up and see how it does. So basically we're looking at, when we have it started up, we're going to hear some the motor beeps while it's kind of starting up, and then what we're looking for is this light on the right. This green light is supposed to blink green when it has GPS satellite. So we're just going to wait a couple minutes and see if we can acquire the satellite before we launch. Cool thing about, while we're waiting for the satellite, the cool thing about this one is it's got actually a timer on it. So if you go into the menu on the controller, it has a countdown timer. So if you kind of know your timings, I think this one with this gimbal plus the camera mounted up, I think it's around 11 minutes or so of flight time. So in this one, if you just basically you hold the plus button and then you press exit, you'll get into this timer menu where you can actually adjust how many minutes you want. Actually, I'm holding exit and I'm pressing plus here. And you're setting the countdown for how many minutes you want it to time. So I'm going to go 10 minutes, and then that means I'm just going to be flying around the vicinity, but that means it's time to come in close because I think the battery will almost be dead. And the way you arm this one is you have both sticks down to the bottom centers. So you just hold them into the bottom center. Looks like we do have the green GPS blinking now, so it should be safe to launch. So I've got the switches in altitude hold. You can see that the propellers did shut off after maybe about 5 seconds of inactivity, so that's a good feature to have actually. So I'm going to have the fail safe back to home. I'm going to have it in altitude hold, not headless, and I'm going to have everything off just for launch. So just push up to launch. And it's actually, as we can see, it's pretty quick. So once it launches, if you do want to have that lock, go ahead and switch into GPS just in that center position right away. So let's see. So let's go ahead and bring it up a little bit. So what I'm going to be doing is just kind of checking the kind of a hover test. Do have about maybe 5 to 10 mile per hour winds coming from this direction. So it's fluctuating a little bit, but I just want to see how stable it is. Looks like I bumped the camera, so I'm going to bring that camera down a little bit. And what I'll do too is I'll have from time to time, I'll have some video footage from the camera on screen, so you can check that out, how it's doing. Right off the bat, I am noticing a little bit of instability in the hover. It's got, once in a while, it's got this little bit of a chatter shake, so not sure how the gimbal and the camera is going to tune that out, but you can see it fluctuating on the barometer up and down. There's a little bit of wind right now, but only around 5 or so. So it's having a little bit of trouble doing the altitude. I did go ahead and calibrate this beforehand. I think there's a few videos on the net. I think this craft is actually Ali Shanmao actually developed this craft, and so he's got a few videos on the net on how to calibrate this, so you can watch those if you want. I'll link those in the description of how to calibrate this. But unfortunately he doesn't support it anymore, so I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe another company took it over, but I tried looking for software to update and stuff and couldn't really find anything to update software or any kind of drivers or anything, so I'm not sure what to do there. In the manual, it did give the web address for the software, but it went to his website and it's unsupported, so not sure about this one. But nonetheless, let's just go ahead and do a test here. So it's just been hovering there, and that's kind of what you can expect for its stability there. I kind of don't like that little shake. Looks like the accelerometer is trying to compensate a little too much for the wind or whatever's happening here. So there might be a little bit of shake in the camera. Anyway, let's go ahead and fly around. So this is GPS mode. And I'm not touching the altitude now. I'm just flying with sticks going, yaw, and pitch and roll. So that's full stick forward for pitch. And you can see how it kind of levels out because the flight controller is not going to let it go faster than it's set with GPS. So you could still hold the stick as far forward as you want, but it's only going to go that fast in GPS mode. So it looks like it's pretty quick, pretty peppy in GPS, no complaints. Let off the sticks, and it's got a pretty sharp kickback angle to keep it stable when you do let off the sticks. Let's go ahead and do a lift test. Oh, you know what? I forgot to start the timer, so oh well. We'll just keep an eye on it. Anyway, from hover to full lift, full thrust in GPS mode. That is pretty quick. Let's go ahead and do a full throttle down test. It does drop pretty fast, so very fast, but it is good at when you do let off the sticks. You can see how it punches the throttle so it doesn't drop. That's kind of a little bit of a problem I was having with the X4 Pro, where you do full throttle down, and when you let off the stick, it wouldn't really keep itself up. It would kind of drift down a little bit, and that's when I kind of hit the ground slightly. But this one seems to give it a good punch, so it doesn't do that. Let's see what we could do now. Let's go ahead and go into headless mode. So I'm going to get back to this area here. I'm going to switch into headless by just pulling this left trigger down. So we are in headless, and now any direction I'm yawing, forward on the stick should always be away from me. See that? Still yawing here. Just a steady yaw. Right should always be right. And left should always be left. It seems like it's working fairly well. Working good enough. No complaints there. I'm going to switch out of headless mode here. Let's see what else we can do here. Let's go ahead and bring it up. What I did notice with this one is it's got a height limitation which seemed to be like about 150 or so feet. So let's see what happens if we go super high. Just get it up as high as we can. And let's see if it kind of stops like it did for me before. Yeah, so that height right there, it seems like maybe 100 to 150 feet. I have full throttle up, and it's still not letting me go any higher. So unfortunately, I don't really know how to access the flight controller at this time. But I should be able to maybe eventually figure that out and cut off the limitations for that. So that's full stick down, dropping, letting off the stick right now, and you can see how it holds its position nice and quickly when you do let off the stick. So that's definitely a good pro on this one. Alright, so let's go into altitude hold only mode without the GPS, and it's going to drift with the wind. And then you can see as we click on the GPS, it goes ahead and knows its three-dimensional point in space and goes ahead and stops right there. So we're going to take off GPS. Let's see how fast this thing flies. Should be way faster. Okay, so yeah, definitely fast. Faster than GPS. And I'll have the, like I said, I'll have the video on the screen once in a while so you can see how the shake is while doing that kind of flying. So I'm going to fly out a bit and test the return to home. So I'm going to go into GPS there, and I'm going to click the return to home function, which is this one right down. It should raise up a bit, and let's see what it does. So I'm facing away from me right now. And it looks like it's going to stop there, and it's going to come back in to its launch point. And let's see where it lands. So while it's coming down, it looks like it's coming down over what it thinks is its launch point. You can move it around, and you can also give it some throttle. So you still have full control. It looked like it was going to land right on that box. Let's see what happens when okay, so it's just sitting there with its prop spinning kind of hard. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the throttle down, see what happens. Switch out of RTH. Okay, so that's a little bit dangerous. It looks like it's not shutting off the motors, and when I do let the throttle up a little bit, it looks like it's going to try to take off again, even though I'm out of RTH. So this is where you need to disarm the motors by having both sticks down and out. So a little bit dangerous with the return to home as far as the landing. The return to home was good. Where it did land, the accuracy was pretty good within a couple feet, because I think I did launch like right about here on that box. So that's definitely acceptable on the return to home. Let's go ahead and see what happens if we just let the battery die. Let's go ahead and launch again and see what kind of fail safes it has for the battery. I'm just going to keep flying, and I'll have the timings for up on the screen when I can look at the video and see what the timings are, because I forgot to switch back into GPS. Forgot to start the controller timer, but it does have a cool timer on the controller. While we're waiting for the battery to die, I'm just going to kind of bring it over here and do kind of a walk around test and look at it here real close up. Bring it down a little bit. Trying to get it at eye level, right about there. So you can see the fluctuation. There's really not much wind at all, but it's not as stable as some of the others I've tested recently, like the X380, Serafi, X4 Pro. All those are definitely much more stable in their hover. Getting a bit of wind now from my left here. That's maybe a 10 to 15 mile per hour gust. Okay, so it looks like this is its first stage of low voltage. I'm not sure how the lights have been doing, but basically it's dropping on its own. So it's slowly dropping, kind of like the X4 does, where you see it kind of dropping down on its own. So I've got to hold the throttle up a little bit just to prevent it from dropping. But I'm going to see what happens, how long we can fly this until it actually goes into some kind of forced landing failsafe. And that's it right there. So I'm full throttle up, and it's just going to land itself. It's just going to get really weak and go ahead and land itself. I'm going to go ahead and shut off the motors. Alright, cool. So that was a good test of the Free X. Again, I'll have the video. Hopefully you can see the video up on the screen recording, and you can see how that was all functioning. Also, I'll have the link down in the description for this guy, so if you're interested, go ahead and click that link and check it out. And you can check out the product website with all the specifications and costs and everything. Anyway guys, thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to check out the other reviews I do, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.